All right, electrolytes on carnivore. Here's what you actually need to know.
I'm a pastor, an entrepreneur, a world traveler, and a martial artist. But most importantly, I'm a devoted husband and dad with an amazing family. And the older I get, the more I realize the importance of being healthy so that I can be all that I can and should for my family. I haven't always been healthy though. In fact, I've struggled with my weight for a lot of my life. But in recent years, I found some great success in my weight loss and fitness journey living a lower carbohydrate lifestyle, particularly that of the keto and carnivore variety. Follow me on my journey as I continue to explore and share the benefits of living the low-carb lifestyle.
What's up everyone, Jason here with the Low Carb Lifestyle. Welcome back to my channel. I'm glad you're here with me today because today we're diving into one of the most misunderstood topics and parts of the carnivore diet. That's right, we're talking about electrolytes. Because listen, if you're feeling like maybe you've got some low energy, leg cramps, headaches, maybe some dizziness, or perhaps you're just not adapting as fast as you thought you would, then there's probably a good chance that your electrolytes are out of balance, and the fix is usually way easier than you might think. So let's go ahead and break down exactly what you need, how much, and how to keep this way of eating sustainable for real life. Now here's the truth of the matter. Most beginners don't even realize this, but realistically, you're not eating carbs anymore, right? Which means that your body will stop holding on to water. Certainly not like it used to, and your electrolytes will start flushing out fast as a result of this. Now if you don't replace them, you will feel it, but if you get them right, then the truth is you're gonna feel like a machine. So let's go ahead and break this down as simply as we can, all right? So let's talk about why electrolytes matter. Okay, when you go carnivore, your insulin drops, and that's a good thing, especially if you're anywhere in the diabetic sphere, all right? But that also tells your kidneys, hey, we're not doing carbs anymore, release the water, right? Maybe it's not that dramatic, but you get the idea. That's why new carnivore people suddenly start peeing like crazy. And with that water, out goes the sodium, the potassium, the magnesium, and if you lose too much, your body will start to send SOS signals, as it were. So let's talk about the big three electrolytes, right? You've got sodium, and that's the one that you're probably not getting enough of. Most carnivore beginners are accidentally consuming way too little salt because they're afraid of it. Some of that's due to bad habits, misinformation throughout the years, but on carnivore, you need salt. Why? Because without carbs, your body dumps sodium fast, as we've already established. You want to shoot for a daily target of half a teaspoon to a teaspoon of salt at a minimum, or salt to taste aggressively, and I do that regularly. Now, what are the signs that you might need more? Well, you might have lightheadedness when standing, you might be experiencing fatigue, perhaps your heart is beating heavier or maybe slightly abnormal, you might be having headaches. And so if this is the case, add salt. This will fix 90% of beginner problems. The second one is potassium. With this, you usually don't need a supplement. Meat actually contains a good amount of potassium, especially beef, right? Beef's a superfood, don't let anyone tell you any different. Most people are fine unless they're under eating. So where do you get potassium from, right? Well, you can get them from beef, you can get them from pork, you can also get potassium from eggs, right? It's not just bananas, contrary to what you've been told. Also salmon, right? These are great sources of this particular electrolyte. Now, what are the signs that you might need more? Well, the first of which is muscle weakness. Also, if you have that feeling where you're just feeling flat, you also have heart palpitations. Now, if you're eating enough meat, then you're probably good here. Thirdly, you have magnesium, all right? And that's kind of the quiet hero. Even off of carnivore, most people are magnesium deficient, especially busy adults like me and probably like you. That's why you're on this channel. Magnesium will help you with things like sleep, muscle relaxation, also stress levels, and of course we can't forget about digestion, along with energy production, and those two things kind of go hand in hand. So what should you take when it comes to magnesium, right? Well, if you want magnesium, you can try magnesium glycinate. There are other things. I would say avoid magnesium oxide. Your stomach will hate you for it. Your daily target should be around 200 to 400 milligrams sometime before bed. So now let's talk about what about electrolyte packets, right? And this is the part where people actually waste a lot of money. I like these packets right here, but you don't need sugary sports drinks, and you certainly don't need to buy a supplement. Most of them are just expensive salt with marketing. Now again, I love this stuff. If you like stuff like this, then great, go for it. There's a lot of good brands. This is the one I like. This is LMNT, LMNT for short. But if you understand what's in them, literally they're just salt. Potassium, magnesium, sound familiar? And the reality is you can get the same benefits with just water and salt, a high mineral salt like Redmond's, or some optional magnesium at night. It's really simple, just like we talked about. But again, for convenience, if you like this stuff, go ahead. I can put a link in the description if you like to see what I use. But again, you don't need it. So how do you know if your electrolytes are dialed in? Well, you'll know that your electrolytes are right when you wake up with more energy, when you have cravings that disappear, or perhaps you have cramps that stop, and also the headaches. Those will go away too. And I can't say enough about this. I've said this in a lot of videos in the past. Your mental clarity will increase. And then think about simple things like maybe you're just not exhausted anymore in the mid-afternoon. Electrolytes, I tell you, are the cheat code to sticking with carnivore in the long term. So then in terms of an exact daily electrolyte blueprint, okay, I've kind of mentioned it here, but let me summarize it again for you. Here's a super simple guide that you can take on your daily electrolytes on carnivore. With salt, you want to shoot for half a teaspoon to a full teaspoon that's spread throughout the day. With potassium, just eat enough meat. I can't really say that enough. Just eat enough meat. You really don't need supplements unless you need supplements. With magnesium, 200 to 400 milligrams before bed, and just make sure that you're not cutting out water, right? Drink to thirst. But it's also not a good idea to just force yourself on gallons a day, right? Boom, done. Sustainable, easy, effective. Now let me give you just a little quick word of warning. Here's what you shouldn't do. Don't chug tons of water like I talked about, right? It just flushes out more minerals. And you also don't want to take all your salt all at once. Space it out. Don't just take a big shot of salt. Also, don't supplement potassium unless absolutely needed, because I believe there is a little bit of truth to too much potassium could be a little bit detrimental and maybe even dangerous. Just eat meat, my friends. So if you've been struggling with energy, headaches, cravings, or not adapting well on carnivore, then I would say electrolytes definitely might be the missing piece that you've been overlooking. So dial this in and everything will get easier. At least I hope it does for you. If you found this helpful, please smash the like button, share this with someone, but also subscribe and hit the notification bell so you don't miss out on any more hot new carnivore content that I got coming down the pipe just for you. And also drop a comment. Tell me on your carnivore journey. How's it going? All right. I'll see you in the next one, my friends. Jason here with the Low Carb Lifestyle, out.